Hello, my name is Denim, and in this video I'm going to be teaching you all about remote events. So the first thing I want to teach you is why you would want to use remote events at all. So I have the code set up here for us. I just made this real quick, and what it does is it spawns a dummy for us whenever we click on this button on our screen. But since we're not using remote events, we have it all inside of a local script right here. So, and that's what you need for a GUI to work. So let's start the game with 3 players on a server, and we'll see what it looks like. You can see me in the server right here running around. This is what the server sees. You can see me right here. Oops, let's stand right here. Running around. This is what all the other players see. So I'm going to click on make a dummy, and let's see him pop up. Oh, there he is. I can see him, but for some reason nobody else can. I'm just standing on air right now. This guy can't see him either. And I can make a whole bunch of these guys, and they're never going to see any of them because they're all being made locally on the client, which is just on my computer. Only my computer can see all of this. Now this obviously causes really weird problems because these guys don't exist at all. If I go into the workspace here, I can see there's like 1,000 dummies here. But if I go in the workspace over here, there's no dummies, just 3 players. So clearly this isn't something you're going to want usually. Maybe you want to have some guy have hallucinations or something. You could make enemies locally. For the most part, what you want is to have these guys get made on the server. So I will show you how to fix that. Okay, so we have our starter code here. It's really simple. Hopefully you understand it. I'll walk through it really quick. So this is just setting up. We get the local player. We get replicated storage all set up here. Replicated storage is where I'm keeping the dummy model. We define the dummy right here as that dude in replicated storage. We define the dummy button as that button on my GUI. And then we have one simple function. All we do is we clone the dummy and make a new dummy. This could be called whatever you want. Again, it's a variable. We set that new dummy's parent to the workspace, which is right here, so it actually exists. And then we set its position. I know this looks a little weird. We basically just set its position to the player's head's position. Plus 10. And then this is the event right here. So when the make dummy button is activated, we connect it to this function, and then this function fires. So every time the button's pressed, the dummy gets made. Hopefully at this point you can understand all of this. Whoopsies. I'm going to show you how to make this work properly now. So the first step is to get a actual server script going. So we'll go to server script service. We'll add ourselves a little script, and we'll call this the dummy handler. Spell dummy right, dummy. Now, all we got to do really is copy this code, yoink, throw it in here. We don't know what a dummy is. Let's go back, actually. We got to get more code. We don't need the button, but we do need the model. Throw this in here. And we need replicated storage. So local replicated storage equals game get service replicated storage. Go away. All right, now, oh, we need player. Yeah, never mind. Player is gonna be a parameter. Player. So whenever you call a remote event, it's gonna do that. It's gonna send player as the first parameter every time you call a remote event. I'll explain that later, so don't worry if you don't understand right now. In replicated storage, I'm gonna add a new folder. And we're just going to call this remote events. And then this is where I'm going to put all my remote event objects. Look, there's one. So we'll call this one make dummy. Okay. So we've got our remote event. We've got our code. Now we basically just have to connect the player pushing the button to the code actually running on the server. How do we do that? Instead of doing this, we'll do an anonymous function for this. Whoops. For this, we're going to use an anonymous function. So to do that, you just have to type function here, and then press enter, and then parameters here, and blah, blah, blah. So anonymous function basically is just a function that you can't use again. It's just a one-time thing. Pretty much you'll only use it in the connect. So now we're going to find our remote event make dummy. So we'll do replicated storage dot remote events dot make dummy, and now we're referencing this right here, this little make dummy remote event. And then if we do dot, it has a bunch of events, right? But we actually want colon because we're calling a method. When you use colon, you're calling the method, which is another word for a function. When you use dot, you're finding an attribute. This is, or an event. This is going to be giving you methods. You see, they're like the little purple box here. So we got a whole bunch of them, but what we want to do is fire server. So I'm just going to type it. Fire server. It's a function. Got the brackets. So if you wanted to add parameters to this, for example, maybe you want to make 5 dummies or whatever, you'd put 5 there and it'd send that over to here. First it'd send player. It always sends player first, the player that's sending the remote event. And then you would have like the number. So the next step is to connect this function on the server. Remember, this is the server script. We're going to connect this to the to our remote event. So we'll do replicated storage dot remote events dot what was it called? Make dummy. And then we want to get the event, right? So it's a dot on server event, and then we'll connect that thing to spawn dummy. Oh, we don't want that. None of that. There we go. And now it should work in all 3. Now when this guy runs around and decides that he's going to make a dummy, everybody sees it. And another thing you might notice is that this dummy is now animated too. He can walk around because he had his own scripts inside of him that weren't working when he was just on the client. And I can make a bajillion of these guys and they'll bounce around and be happy and do their thing. And now we have a happy little world full of little dummies. So why did this work? I'm going to try to explain it over Paint. So I'm going to explain how this worked using Paint. So first, we have the client, and he sees his own little world. Then we have the server, and it sees its own version of the world. And then we actually have multiple clients, so I'll draw another one here. And they're all connected together. And when I want something to happen, so the server is basically deciding what is the real world, and then the client's just seeing its own version of that. So if I have a box in the server, these players are also going to see the box because I just made it in the server. It's going to tell everyone, hey, there's a box now. Make sure everyone can see that. And they're like, okay, we'll see it. But when the client's like, oh, I'm going to make my own dude now, no one else is like caring. They're like, bro, what are you talking about? They don't care because the server is the thing that's the authority here. It's telling everyone what's real. If this guy thinks he sees all this stuff, like sure, he sees it in his little world, but no one else is going to see it. Because think about what would happen if the clients were the authority. I could be playing a game and then I could be like, hey, I have 5 million diamonds. And then everyone's like, oh man, this guy has 5 million diamonds. I can't believe that. Oh wow, 5 million diamonds? So that's why the server is the authority here. And that's why you have to use remote events. If you tried to work around the remote events and like do it in some kind of weird way, it's just not going to work. So if let's say you try to give yourself 500 gold here, like legit, like you made it so that your character would get 500 gold in the game, but it was just a local script, no one else would see that and it wouldn't actually work. So that is why we use remote events.